Hoje o Temperando o Papo recebe um empresário que vem chamando atenção no mercado internacional através dos projetos imobiliários de luxo, investimentos estratégicos e uma visão moderna do patrimônio global. Diretamente de Portugal, Alex Mansur, que está aqui ao nosso lado, fundador da Nomad Capital e da Nomad Eden também, e de empresas que vêm desenvolvendo empreendimentos de alto padrão no Porto, em Gaia, em Algarve. Gente, movimentando mais de 150 milhões de euros de investimentos imobiliários. Seja muito bem-vinda, primeira vez no Brasil, Alex Mansur.
Very nice to meet you. Thanks for having me.
Prazer tê-lo aqui, viu? O Edu está aqui também para compartilhar e para traduzir tudo para a gente aqui, para você que está assistindo o Temperando o Papo. E a gente já vai começar. Antes de falar um pouco sobre os projetos imobiliários, a gente quer entender um pouco mais da sua trajetória. Quem é você, Alex Mansur?
Oh, wow. Tough questions. Well, I'm born and raised in France, but I haven't lived there for 20 years. I moved to Japan when I was 17, studied a little bit there, then I moved to China. I spent some time in Hong
Uau,
Kong, a year in India,
China também.
7 years in the US, in New York City, and I arrived in Portugal 11 years ago. Initially as a tourist, to spend the weekend, meet some friends, and I never left. So my company, Nomad Capital, the name Nomad is because I consider myself a proper nomad.
Yes.
That's really nice. And when was the first time that you decided to leave? Because you joined other companies in the
Yeah,
past, right?
absolutely.
How was the changing key when you decided to do the foundation of Nomad and start a new business?
Yeah, so before, like, I had two friends from childhood, like friends since kindergarten, that moved to Portugal a few months before I did. And I was living in New York City, working in finance. And they invited me initially just to spend the weekend and see what they were doing. And I don't know, I fell in love with the country, with the ambience, with the dynamics. And they had a really nice idea to do amazing properties in Portugal and kind of do a short-term rental. But after a few years, we did really well together. We did about 10 projects in Lisbon. And I wanted to give my ideas and my vision its own company, its own business. And the timing just before the pandemic, 2019, was just perfect. So either I would continue with them or I would build something myself. So I decided to make the jump. And that's when I built Nomad Capital. I wanted to basically elevate the living experience and make luxury an actual experience and integrate it in the lifestyle of my clients. And this is how the company started.
And we were talking a little bit in the backstage when we were talking about the experience. So one of the ideas when you decided to go on the real estate market, bring together this kind of experience for the luxury market as well. How was it?
It just happened over time, you know. First, as a nomad, I got to discover so many different cultures, so many different ways of enjoying life, depending on the country I was at, depending on the people I was speaking to. Also, I'm a millennial. For me, experience is everything. I don't really care about material things. I enjoy a beautiful watch. I enjoy a beautiful car. I enjoy a beautiful piece of jewelry. But a space, it's something that you experience. So it's not just about traveling to discover an experience. It's also about your everyday life. How do you wake up? How does it feel when you get out of bed? How does it feel when you're cooking? This to me is luxury. It's not just about the materials being used. Sometimes the most simple things are the most luxurious thing. And I think we are in this amazing showroom here where, you know, these trees that came from the Amazon, which are getting almost no treatment, they're just being cut and they're a piece of art on their own, but they're so simple. This is wood. It's one of the most simple material. And to me, this is absolute luxury. And I wanted to find a way to make homes which were very similar, like simple things, simple steps, but all together creating a lifestyle.
Where the simple becomes the luxury
Exactly.
in the essence, right?
Exactly.
So that's really nice.
E hoje a gente sempre fala sobre experiências mesmo, inclusive aqui no Temperando Papo, com as viagens e tudo mais. E me conta, aproveitando o ensejo, a sua empresa cresceu muito em Algarve, em Porto e nas demais regiões, faturando mais de 150 milhões. Isso é algo muito diferenciado. Qual a importância para os brasileiros e fazer realmente esse investimento e começar a faturar em euros?
So Portugal has always been very attractive for Brazilian investors, but the type of client has changed a lot in the last 10 years. Previously, it was mostly Brazilian that had family ties in Portugal, so they wanted to have a footprint in the country. But today, what I'm seeing is a bit different. I'm seeing clients from Brazil that have been very successful here in the country, and they are looking at Portugal as a way to diversify their portfolio, or they are looking at ways to prepare their succession planning. And, you know, in periods of instability, usually a lot of sophisticated investors, they don't want to be linked to a single country. They find this risky. So they look at the US, they look at the Middle East, they look at Euro. And of course, Portugal is a fantastic destination for Brazilians, first because it's a Portuguese-speaking country. And also they want to have access to the Eurozone, to the Schengen space. They want to have access to an amazing education, to free healthcare. So all of these together, of course, make Portugal very attractive for Brazilian investors.
Qual a possibilidade dos brasileiros investirem em diversificar a renda com a Nômade Capital, em todas as moedas que ele possui hoje?
Well, we are present around the country in Portugal. We've been present for several years. We have projects in the Algarve, which is one of the most regarded summer destinations. It competes with countries such as Spain, Portugal, Spain, France, Italy. So the Brazilians that are interested in the Algarve will typically invest with the optic of having an investment in a place that is very touristic, which can generate rental income. And the more you go north, the more the audience is going to be very business orientated. Like, I think that I've heard a lot that Sao Paulo is considered the New York of Brazil. Well, Porto, for instance, which is the capital of the north of Portugal, is kind of the Sao Paulo of Portugal. That's where all of the leading Portuguese industries are located, whether it's textile, wine and spirits, manufacturing. So like the Sao Paulo audience is very sensitive to Porto because there's these similarities, this ease of doing business. And then you have Lisbon, of course. Lisbon is going to be a bit your Rio de Janeiro.
Your standpoint of view and what you have seen from the market. You mentioned a little bit about what they are searching for, but it's very like mixed. Or do you think that specifically a kind of profile
Yeah.
is more can invest more or less? How is that?
Every client is different, of course, but there are some recurring concerns that we hear on a daily basis. I think the topic of safety as the safety in the street, but also the safety of capital. So these are elements that are really important. Portugal is one of the safest countries in the world, and is typically recognized throughout Europe and the world as a safe hub. And Brazilian clients recognize that. Other recurring item is the diversification. The euro is kind of falling, it's devaluating, which of course for non-Eurozone buyer makes a big difference. Portugal still has fantastic value. You know, the prices in Porto are for luxury segment are between 7 and 10,000 euros square meter. Lisbon, you are already between 12 and 20, but compared to other capitals like New York City, Miami, Milan, Paris, New York, it still has lots of value.
E os imóveis de luxo, né, que a gente sabe que vem ali na garagem um belo presente. Bem clear. Me conta sobre essa parceria, sobre todos os detalhes, não só da experiência, mas de proporcionar algo a mais do que o dinheiro pode comprar.
So yeah, the partnership with Bentley was a test we did when we launched our Nomad Eden project a couple of years ago, and it proved to be very successful because our clients, they don't put real estate on the side and then cars on the side and then travel on the side. They put all of it into their portfolio of lifestyle and experiences. And it's really important to see how all of these different brands actually fit into an ecosystem which grants the opportunity to experience amazing things. So the way you drive and the car that you drive, the watch that you wear, the food that you eat, the place that you live, they are all part of an entire ecosystem. And that's why we did this partnership with Bentley, actually. And we designed this car, which is completely unique. And I think that's what our clients want. They want
Uau.
something special, something unique. And that's why we did
Fantástico.
that.
Nós, né, somos apaixonados por pessoas e por histórias aqui no Brasil. Então eu quero que você compartilhe com a gente, para as pessoas que estão em casa, investidores e tudo mais, entenderem, a experiência em si. Então a história de algum cliente, a história de algum investidor que passou por lá e que você viu que faz todo o sentido a Nomad Capital, todo o diferencial que você proporciona para essas pessoas e que traz algo assim que passa, né, de geração para geração, a sucessão familiar, esse encontro.
And very often I say I'm not a real estate developer, I'm an experienced designer. And I think that's really what separates us from a lot of the competitors. We're not here to compete on price. We're here to compete the on the relationship with the different clients that we have. And even when we build our projects, we think about the community and how the different buyers are going to get along together and the type of memories they're going to create. And the relationship with a client starts from the time we shake hands. We become partners, when an investor gives us his trust and transfers money in order to buy a property, which will sometimes be ready in a year or two, the relationship starts here. And I'm here in Brazil, not selling anything. I'm introducing myself, I'm meeting people, I'm creating relationship. We are doing like this visit to Brazil, this interview, this is to create relationship for the long term and not to sell a specific product, but to meet people that think like us and believe in our vision, and hopefully we can do amazing things together. So that's why we are here.
Falando da cultura, pouco da cultura brasileira, poucos investidores enxergam, né, alguns investimentos a longo prazo e fazem isso. Pequeno percentual, média de 5% dos brasileiros. Na sua visão, o seu tipo de investimento é a longo prazo?
I like to think about things in the long term. It's true that a lot of Brazilian buyers have an investment horizon between 5 and 7 years. And the steady growth of Portugal over the last 10 years has supported that these investments were pretty attractive, even for a 5 to 7 year horizon. I still think that there's lots of value in Portugal. And, a city like Porto, for instance, the prices are extremely attractive compared to other financial hubs around Europe. So when you're buying a property off plan, you're partnering with a developer, basically by investing capital with the expectation that at delivery, because there is not a lot of supply, the price will have gone up. So I think that makes a lot of sense. But I also think even more sense is thinking of the investments in Europe as a very long-term approach for the 10, 20, and 30 years. Portugal is becoming more and more attractive every year. It's a small country. There's a scarcity of supply and a growing demand. And people are actually moving to Portugal for the long term. They are moving their families and all of that. So I think that for the very long term, Portugal has a bright future. But for the investors that are looking for a shorter investment horizon, I also think it makes sense. And, it's just depends on the type of investor that you are.
E a gente continua aqui com o Alex Mansur. No próximo bloco, a gente vai para um pequeno intervalo. Não saia daí não, que vamos continuar falando sobre investimentos, sobre diversificação de renda e sobre esse mercado diferenciado, estratégico, que existe em Portugal, especialmente em Porto, em algumas outras regiões, mas um mercado de luxo que você está sendo aqui a primeira pessoa a fazer parte dessa história, com essa novidade que o Alex vem trazendo diretamente de Portugal, da Europa, para a gente. Não sai daí.